This is Calm AF, a podcast for humans who are hard on themselves. A podcast for the overthinkers, people pleasers, perfectionists, and overachievers. I'm Kristen Finch, and I'm going to teach you how to quiet that incessant negative chatter in your head. Because you know what a person with a calm mind can do? Anything they want. Grab your coffee, gorgeous soul, because today's the day you get Calm AF. Hello, gorgeous soul. Welcome to Calm AF. So happy to be here. So for those of you who have been wondering about my jury duty situation, if you don't know, if you didn't happen to hear the episode where I said my dream came true and I got a summons to report for jury duty, I'm going to give you the follow-up here. If you didn't hear that, what you need to know is that it's been my dream to be on a jury since I turned 18. And the first time I got summoned, I showed up and they said, "Oh my gosh, this has never happened before. The lawyers have settled all their cases. You're all free to go." And everyone cheered and I cried. Well, this time I was supposed to report last week. And here, I don't know if this is what it's like everywhere, but you're supposed to call this number or log in the night before to find out what time you need to report for jury duty. And so I actually got online and I looked and it said, if you're in this numbers, if your juror number this through this, you are dismissed. This concludes your jury duty for 2023. Guess whose number? Me. The person who's just wants to do jury duty. I'm like everybody else's dream come true, always getting out of jury duty. It's all I want, and I can't get on a damn jury. I even have a client who is a lawyer who I just reach out to her. I was like, what do I need to do? What would make you choose me? That's how bad I want to serve on a jury. But I suppose it was not for me. This was not meant for me. My dream of being a jury member or member of the jury, whatever it's called, it's going to have to wait at least another year. So, c'est la vie. Not everything can go well, can it? So, that was just a little update for those of you who have been wondering about jury duty. Today, I want to talk to you about something that I say a lot to my clients, a lot. And it's this: hard now or hard forever. So let me give you this little example to get us into the topic. So whenever you start something new, before you learn how to do it, it's hard, right? Before a baby learns how to walk, it's hard, right? It's hard to walk when you're just learning how to walk. They've never done it before. Babies are really, really, really bad at walking at first. They fall a lot. They're wobbly and awkward and unsteady. And at first, when they're learning how to walk, they fall more than they take steps. And what do the adults do? I want you to think about, if you have kids, if you've been around kids, when babies are learning how to walk, I should say toddlers are learning how to walk, and they fall, what do? We cheer. We go out of our minds praising them. You did it. We celebrate the out of them taking one step. We're like, oh my God, it's happening. This baby took their first step. And what I know for sure is now they've taken the first step. It's just a matter of time. And this baby will be walking. Now, I want you to imagine if we treated babies learning this brand new hard skill the way you treat yourself when you're learning something new, something hard. Imagine if that baby took a first step and the adults were like, okay, you're not very good at it. You were all wobbly. It's one step. Does it really count if you just took one step? You fell immediately. And you looked ridiculous while you were doing it, kid. And you're doing it really wrong, too. Look at how you're standing. Your tummy's sticking out, and you're all wobbly, and you look foolish. And then, kid, you fell. I mean, we can't just ignore the fact that you took one incredibly awkward, tiny, wobbly, embarrassing step before you fell right on your ass. I don't know, baby. I feel like maybe you should think a little bit more, make a plan for how to maybe do it better next time before you try again. Like, wait until you know that you can be a proficient walker before you try again. Wait until you know you're not going to embarrass yourself again. Wait until you know you can walk smoothly and perfectly across a room before you attempt this new skill again. Just imagine if that's what we did to babies when they were learning how to walk. Or imagine if someone's learning how to read or write a bike or play an instrument or learn a new language. If on the first day, this person tried it and we were like, welp, this is really, really, really hard. And clearly, if it feels hard, it must mean it's wrong. Because aren't we only supposed to feel good all the time? You would not have learned to do anything in your life if you treated yourself like this every time you tried to learn something new. Things that you are so good and natural at now, they were hard at first. I remember teaching the kids to brush their teeth. It was a brand new skill, and it was hard at first to get like the coordination. But I knew as they were learning, it's not going to be hard forever. It's just hard now. We have to get through the hard part at the beginning, and then it will be easier. This is how it always works. Everything you've ever done was hard at first until it got easier. And something I say a lot to my clients when they tell me something is hard, whether it's setting a boundary or saying no to someone or learning how to not let the fear of guilt stop you from every freaking thing or not let the fear of other people's opinions dictate how you live your life, I say yes, it is hard. It is hard to do things you haven't done before. It is hard to feel non-preferred feelings because it's new, because of the uncertainty, because it's a different way of showing up. But then, once you've done it once, you've done it. You've taken the big step, the big first step. That means the second step is less new and less scary and a tiny bit less uncertain. And the third and the fourth and the fifth steps are easier than the first and the second. And by the time you've taken 100 steps, you're a different person. You're not a person who is trying to take steps to create the life you want. You have become the person who is actively taking steps to create the life you want every day. You're 100 steps in instead of shutting down after the first fail. You have a choice. Hard now or hard forever. Because nothing changes without doing things that feel hard. You have a choice to keep doing what you're doing because it's quote unquote easier. Easier meaning familiar and predictable, not actually easier. This is the funny thing I often throw back at my clients when they tell me, it's just easier. It's just easier if I do everything. Is it? Is it easier? Is that the word you would describe it? Easier? Or does it just feel easier for you when everything looks just how you think it should look? Or is it easier for you to stay where you are? Actually being in a relationship with a person who doesn't love and accept you for who you are, with someone who needs you to be someone different so that they can keep living their same life. So every day you wake up thinking about how who you are simply must not be enough, exhausting yourself with their shitty dialogue on top of your own incessant shitty dialogue. That's easier? Not having boundaries, that's easier? Are you sure? Are you sure that it's easier to stay the same? Or are you just afraid to do the hard thing now? You have a choice. Tell yourself it's just easier and do nothing to avoid doing the hard thing now, or do the hard thing now so that it actually gets easier. Hard now or hard forever. And let me tell you, hard forever isn't easier. It's not it. So how do you start doing the hard thing now? Well, you know, I am not a fan of torturing yourself. I am not a believer that doing the hard thing now has to include both pain and suffering. So you got to go into it knowing it's not going to be easy, but you can add ease to the hard thing as much as possible. And here's how. First, you want to remember that anticipation fear is the scariest part. Right before you do the hard thing is the scariest part because you are stepping out of the familiar. But once you've started, you've started. You might feel like you're going to throw up before you speak the words to set a boundary. You might feel like you'd rather run a marathon in 115-degree heat than say no and risk someone being disappointed or having some sort of a negative thought about you. But you're going to remember that the awfulness is the worst right before the hard thing. And while the hard thing itself still might have some pain, it's different once you're on the path. You don't relieve the hard by not doing the hard thing. You're just postponing it. You're just postponing the hard for later. And as much as your nervous system tells you, phew, you avoided something really terrible, what's actually true is you've just put it off. And once again, shoved the hard thing down. Maybe later. Maybe I'll feel more ready later. Maybe I'll feel more prepared later. Maybe I'll have a plan later. The scariest part of skydiving are the moments leading up to stepping out of the plane. Once you've taken it, you're skydiving. You're doing it. It's happening. You are the person who is skydiving, not the person who's afraid of skydiving. Okay? Second way to add ease to the hard thing is to remember that everything is temporary. The one constant in life is that everything is always changing, including how you feel. So the feeling of guilt is temporary. The feeling of fear is temporary. The feeling of anger is temporary. A lot of you are avoiding hard things simply to avoid hard feelings in yourself and in other people. It's a terrible reason to avoid the hard thing because that feeling, yours or someone else's, is going to change if you just give it a minute. You have to remember that it is highly likely your sympathetic nervous system is triggered. So not only are you feeling the acute feeling of guilt or fear or whatever, but your system is also telling you that it's not just hard, it's a life-threatening emergency. Once you learn how to self-regulate and you become more familiar with allowing uncomfortable feelings in your body, this is what I teach in the feelings room, you will remember that this is temporary. You might feel awful, like 10 out of 10 awful when you set a boundary because your whole system is hyper aroused. But then you set the boundary and eventually your nervous system is going to move back into a regulated state after a little bit of time and you will start to feel better and you set the boundary. Okay? Every feeling, yours and other people's, is temporary. The third thing to add ease to the hard thing, you must have a strong why that you are reminding yourself of every day. If you don't have a strong why am I doing this hard thing? Your brain is never going to get on board with it. I remember coaching about this, specifically about the feelings room in a group once. And one of the women was like, I have a question. I'm just wondering why I would ever do this. Like, why am I choosing to feel hard feelings? Why would I choose guilt over just doing it myself? Why would I choose discomfort when I am really, really good at pushing through? Well, because without doing the hard thing now, you can pretty much count on doing the hard thing forever. Forever. Why you would choose to do the hard thing now is because it's the only way not to have to do hard forever. Why you would choose to do the hard thing of setting a boundary, because the longer you go, the harder it gets. The why is because you want to create a life that you don't have to spend feeling exhausted or lonely or resentful or walking on eggshells. If you want to create a life you genuinely enjoy with people you genuinely enjoy, spending time doing things you genuinely enjoy, you've got to stop avoiding hard things, hard now or hard forever. In my marriage, we really got to a place where things were fine. We had basically learned how to not trigger each other, Dave and I, and we were just like politely coexisting. But once we were there, I was like, Tim, I want more. I want to love him. I want to really, really like him. I want Leslie and Ben love. I love you and I like you. That was my why. And I knew in order to get there, I was going to have to be willing to do the very, very hard thing for me, which is to be vulnerable. Nothing rings my alarm bells in my sympathetic nervous system like vulnerability. And so every time I noticed I was just leaving a room or a conversation or whatever because vulnerability was showing up, I had to pull out my why. Without it, my nervous system would have been like, hell no, get out of here. Right? My why is because this is the relationship I want. This is the life I want. I am choosing the hard now because of my why. Because I don't want to live another day like this. So, what are the hard things you are avoiding right now because it feels like it's just easier not to deal with it? Imagine if you stopped putting it off and took the first step today. And you just kept taking steps because you already did the scariest part of taking the first step. I want you to think about what would be different a month from now, even a week from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. Stop telling yourself it's just easier to stay the same. I promise you, it is not. You're just postponing the inevitable. You are just building the suffering. And listen, you don't have to take some huge dramatic change in order to take that first step. The first step might not be like quitting your job or leaving your marriage. The first step might be saying no to something small. It might be letting your partner be upset or annoyed at you without trying to fix it. Babies take baby steps first when they're learning how to walk. We expect them to be clumsy and wobbly. We know they're going to fall a lot while they learn, but we cheer them on. And we know that once that baby has taken that first hard step, it is only a matter of time before they will be a walker. Do the hard thing now. Do it wobbly. Be clumsy and be embarrassed and be uncomfortable. Expect to fall. And when you do, I want you to treat yourself the same way you would treat someone else or a baby learning something new. Oops. Did you fall? Do you need a hug? Do you need me to comfort you? Okay, let me give that to you. Feeling safe? Let's try again. Let's try again. You got this. Your choice, hard now or hard forever. Choose hard now. I love you so much. I'll see you next time. If you love this podcast, you will love Calm AF Life. It's a self-paced, lifetime access DIY course that teaches you all the concepts that I talk about here, from nervous system regulation to manifesting with ease. And since we know that true change doesn't happen just because you know what to do, you also get an all-access pass to coaching calls and accountability so you don't stay stuck and you don't give up. The best investment you could ever make is in yourself. Calm AF Life is here for you now. Life's not waiting. Let's get you aligned with your Calm AF self, gorgeous soul. I cannot wait to meet you. Go to KristenFinch.com and join me today.